1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost a weekend and you don't know what to do. Or you just need something fun to listen to.
Southside Pod!
Yes, we're on the air. And the gang's all here, all things on the South Side. We're listening to the Southside Pod. Looking for the best Southside breweries. Or you might just need an awesome place to eat.
Southside Pod!
Mount Greenwood, Evergreen, Blue Island, Beverly, Payless, and Allsup too. You're tuned into the Southside Pod.
Southside Pod!
Oakland, Midlothian,
Southside Pod!
Oak Forest, Chicago Ridge, Flossmoor, and Bridgeview. You're listening to Southside Pod!
30 minutes of good in a world of dumb known as Southside Pod. A lot on this episode. It's all brought to you by Family Waterproofing Solutions. You heard the ad at the beginning of the show. The express service. Know what you want. See the cost right on the website. Order and schedule on-site immediately for quick service. Nobody else does that. Named one of the Southland's best 2 years in a row. If you have any questions, 708-330-4466. Your basement's best defense is at familydry.com. All right, so am I a jerk? This is a question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but in this instance, am I a jerk is what I'm going to ask you. Okay?
Right now.
I'm going to describe something to you, and I'm going to ask, am I a jerk?
All right.
So,
yes. Go ahead.
I ask people to come on the show all the time, right? Like, I'll be like, hey, this band sounds cool, let's bring them on. Or, hey, this restaurant looks good. Or, hey, this brewery looks good. Or, hey, this event looks good.
Yeah.
And I'll reach out to people, right? Sometimes they don't get back to me because they're like, what's a podcast? They don't care.
Right.
A lot of times they'll get back to me. I'll explain what we do. And they'll be like, yeah, sure. I got somebody the other day who wrote back to me, we would love to do this, but it's patio season. Mm-hmm. And so can you reach back out to us in 4 months?
Yeah. When it's not patio season.
And I deleted their response and decided I don't care.
What does that mean?
Because the whole idea is it was like, oh, aren't you cute? Isn't this great? We would love to have you over here. We just don't want you now. So you reach out to us in 4 months. And I'm like, I don't have time. I'm not begging people to come on the show.
That's terrible.
I'm not begging. So am I a jerk? Because I was like, I'm not begging people to come on the show. I'm just deleting your email, moving on.
Absolutely.
There's a million restaurants on the South Side.
They're replaceable. Don't worry. There's other advertisers.
All right. Well, no, it wasn't even an advertiser. It was just somebody we're going to go like check their place out and put it on the show for content.
Kind of advertising.
I don't charge people to come on.
But they're still plugging, right? They're plugging a show.
They may talk about it like, hey, look, we're on this show. So they may promote the show.
Promotion. Okay.
And I may get a free meal out of it because generally that's what happens.
You're not a jerk for that.
Why don't you come on those with me?
Can I plug a restaurant I went to today?
Of course you can.
Incredible restaurant. I guess it's been there for a little over 2 years.
And none of these people are related to you.
No.
Okay, where's it at?
105th and Western.
Okay.
It's called Nicky's of Beverly, but it's not the Nicky's you think of.
I've been trying to get them on for months. They're impossible to get a hold of.
It's not the Nicky's like the Euro place on 58th and
No,
Kedzie.
they're really good. Everybody raves about them. I want to get on.
If you passed it, it has all those like containers. 105th?
Yeah.
This place is
105th
like
and Western.
Super urban chic.
And here's the thing.
West Side?
Decorated
West
with
Side
skate decks and all this graffiti.
Here's what's crazy. From what
awesome.
I hear, I don't know if they do it anymore, but I know when they opened, it was a horse thief hollow burger is what they were making in Nicky's.
They have a ton of different
They're bringing beer in from all the other. Basically, it's like the taste of Beverly because all the other places.
It's super
basically
chic in
send
there.
stuff
It's
to
amazing.
them that they put in there.
Good music, good like decor.
Yeah,
good,
and
cool.
I've been trying to get in
their
there forever.
patio's awesome.
It's like my white whale. Like if I'm Ahab, that's the white whale.
Well, tag them in this.
I've been trying
Great
my hardest.
place.
I can't get them on.
Western.
And what I found out recently is when I reach out to them on social media, they have somebody else that runs it. And I heard it's impossible to get to the owners through social media. So I have to have somebody tell them Southside Pod wants to be there.
I was there today, and the food was great. Ambiance was great. I loved it. I told my wife we're sitting on the patio.
Or the patio.
Yeah, patio.
The patio.
Yeah.
It is patio.
It's fancy. It's fancy. It's patio
30
season.
feet from Western Avenue, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of behind in the patio. We got
The patio.
heat lamps.
Yeah, I saw
music.
that. I saw the social
I said,
media
it feels
post.
like we're on vacation.
Yeah.
I said that to my wife. We're eating lunch without the kids. It feels like we're on vacation. Like it just had that vibe. Like just get away.
Right. And then what you guys did is you just like afterwards it was over. You just kind of like went off and did your own thing. Nobody picked the kids up from school and nobody knows where they're at now.
Yeah, we were hammered.
Attaboy.
A pitcher of beer, a pitcher of beer. Let's order another pitcher of beer. That pitcher of beer should come over here. I love that pitcher of beer.
We're in Lamont, Pollyanna Brewing. You just won an award, didn't you, Brian?
Yeah, we just won a pretty good one, if I do say so. So we just took home our first World Beer Cup award.
That's your first one?
Our first one. So we've won a handful of national medals, but this is our first World Beer Cup award. So competing against the rest of the world, pretty exciting to take home something in a German-style category as well. So.
As head brewer here at Pollyanna and all the different locations, right? Like you're basically running all the spots, okay?
Right.
But here in Lamont, what is that like getting ready for a contest like that? Is that you just pick the beer that you think is going to win and then you just cross your fingers? Is there a lot of preparation for it? Is it like the movie Beer Fest, like where it feels like it'll go to fisticuffs between the different breweries? Like describe this to me.
Yeah, not quite as fun as the Beer Fest, not the movie, but. So it's basically, we send in the beer to a large panel of judges, probably about 2 months before the competition, and they do all the work. So the preparation for us is just getting it on the schedule, making it the best we can, and sending it out.
Are they drinking the beer the 2 months beforehand, or is it like the taste test is that day?
Well, it goes over a period of weeks, because there was over 10,000 beers submitted. So when you have 200 judges, it takes a little bit of time
they're drinking
to drink
every
10,000
day.
beers.
How do I get to be a judge in that competition?
I mean, practice, I guess.
It's got to be some sort of application process.
Yeah.
I want to get into that. I want to talk about this thing here. We brought out the can so we could show everybody.
Sure.
It's got a beautiful image of Lamont on here. If you're watching the YouTube, it's really, really nice. This is it's described as a Euro Pale Ale. It's the Lamont 150 Lager. Tell me about this, celebrating 150 years of Lamont.
Yeah, so Lamont is our hometown. You know, we've been here for almost 10 years now, so we're very proud of where we're from. But the best part about that is that people from Lamont affectionately call themselves Lamontsters. They're very proud of their town as well. So the fact that we were asked by the village to make something like this for the town of Lamont it's pretty humbling, honestly, and very exciting. So this beer is our tribute to our great town of Lamont and their 150th anniversary. Lamont's it's a very diverse town made up of a whole wide group of people. So we decided to make a Euro-style pale lager. So think Carlsberg, fresh Heineken, something like that. So this is very light, crisp, easy drinking, just a touch of hop character, and it's something that you find a lot in the Eastern European side of that continent. So kind of brings a little bit of the town's history and the people's history back to current day.
Brewing this type of beer, where's it on the easy to hard scale for you? Is this a difficult beer, or is this one you can whip up real quick? This one where they're like, can you get a lager? And you're like, yeah, I'll make one of those today.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty good at making lagers by now, but they do take a little bit more time to make. They show all the flaws. So if you are a bad brewer or practice poor sanitation, it's going to show up. So it's important to keep it clean, which is difficult for some people, but for us, we make really good lager beer, and for something like this, it's relatively easy for us. We do it a lot, we do it well, and this was a fun one for sure.
I love how you're trying to be humble.
Yeah.
Like you're like, yeah, this is easy. In short, it's easy, is what I think he was saying. But easy for him though, because he's good at what he does. Has had a lot of beers that he's won awards for, and now a World Beer Cup. You get that award as well. So the 150 Lager, I'm looking at this artwork. Where does this come from? Is there a story behind it? Do you know it? Because it's a pretty intricate like view of Lamont. It's really neat.
So that is Lamont's famous 7 steeples, and it was drawn by a local woman who has recently passed away a couple years ago, but her family still lives here, is very big Lamont supporters. So they let us use her image on our can, and we love it. I mean, it's a fantastic drawing. It shows off the skyline, if you will, of Lamont, and these very old churches and the steeples, and it's kind of what you see coming over the bridge heading into Lamont. Is the first thing you see is these churches in the skyline. So we put that on the label, and it works perfectly.
That's awesome. All right, so 150th anniversary is coming up here, 10th of June.
For sure.
I would imagine Pollyanna is going to be serving them up and having a big party on that day. What's your plans? Anything special?
Pollyanna's going to be pouring this beer. We're also going to be pouring Summerly, our raspberry wheat. So it's our #1 selling beer for about 6 months of the year. It's our super refreshing, bright pink red raspberry, slightly tart, slightly sweet, easy drinking beer that you can crush all summer long.
Is summer your favorite time, or is October really your favorite time because of the Oktoberfest? You can be honest with me.
Summer, it hits differently.
Yeah.
You know, you've been cooped up all year, or all winter long. You know, you're kind of like drinking the darker stuff, maybe a little slower, but summer comes and they go down a little bit easier.
You get to do some fun stuff too with fruit flavors and things like
sure.
that. Yeah. It's you get to try an array of beers in the summertime. Well, listen, June 10th, get out here to Lamont's Festival, their 150th anniversary festival. Try the Lamont 150 Lager. How long do you think this will be around? Is it on tap or just in the cans?
It's
or what
on
do you guys
tap.
do?
We're hoping to have it around all summer, at least until our Oktoberfest at the end of September. So
awesome.
That's the goal.
All right. Well, congrats on the award, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, and congrats on the lager as well.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Did you see this thing that Most Holy Redeemer and Evergreen Park canceled their carnival?
I was actually going to bring this up.
Canceled their carnival.
I was gonna bring
Why
this
did
up
they
with
cancel
you.
the carnival?
Because I was watching a news story this morning.
Was it Tinley Park?
And
Is
they're
that why?
worried about, it happened twice there at Tinley Park and somewhere else. They're calling them flash mobs.
They're not flash mobs.
Which to me,
They're roving thugs.
flash mobs
are they
a bunch
dance.
of theater kids like choreographing,
Yeah.
dancing
1,
and
2, 3,
to-
dance.
right, with umbrellas and canes. Like there's like one guy that starts.
Like
everyone
for
looks
so
at him
good in
weird.
America.
Right, yeah.
The
Right.
good kind of
Right.
mob.
Doing like the Green Day musical. Remember that? It was like, don't want to be an American idiot. And then like everyone else stands up. And then like somebody knocks over a trash can.
Right.
And everyone in the mall's like awkwardly claps afterwards.
They don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And they all
but it's a
leave.
performance. That's a flash mob.
Yeah.
Apparently now
It's a
a
mob.
flash mob is just kids destroying things.
Well, the first thing is, I'm sick of the teenager moniker. Like, I saw the video of what happened in Tinley Park at one of their carnivals. Those kids are bigger than me.
Well, they
We're
breed them
talking-
big nowadays.
You're calling them teenagers. They're 18, 19 years old. They're
That's- it's a
17, 18, 19
teenager.
years old. Okay. All right.
I mean, by definition, Chris,
I know,
that
we're
is a
arguing
teenager.
semantics, though. At that age, some of them could literally just beat the crap out of me if they had
Absolutely.
enough going with them.
13-year-old.
So it's not like we're looking at a 13-year-old. We're not looking at children when we say teens. And secondly, stop saying teens. They're just roving thugs. They're thugs. They're online.
ruining good times.
These kids are online. They're not from the suburbs that they're going into. They're from Chicago. They're from Gotham City. They go on Facebook. They figure it out on social media or Twitter or whatever they're doing, and they design these attacks essentially. And what I hate about it is this. I understand that a parish might talk to their local police department and say, we'd have to hire extra security. It's too much of a liability. This is supposed to be a moneymaker. We're going to pull back. The thing that scares me is canceling Ridgefest because of this.
I'm sure they're going to cancel a lot of them this
But
year.
you can't do that. You can't run. You can't
Then-
run.
then the
moment you
terrorists
run,
win.
No, it's not that.
You know why they're canceling? Because if they had any alternative, like, well, you have to be from Chicago Ridge to go to Ridgefest. You have to be from this parish to go to here. It would be considered, classist or racist or any kind of ist that you want to call it. It'll be,
Why not
non-inclusive.
just have entry outside of something like a festival? You have to buy a bracelet. Like if they really want a flash mob, are they gonna pony up $25 for the all day bracelet on the carnival rides?
Someone will have a problem with that too.
But there shouldn't be a problem with it, and that's the thing. At some point, I don't care about your feelings. And the other thing is this: it takes me back to what happened I grew up at 80th and Spalding in the Ashburn neighborhood or St. Denis. And it's very similar to a lot of the south suburbs that we go into right now. And my father was a Chicago police officer. My mother worked undercover for the state of Illinois. We're living in this place. And the worst thing that happened was that when people moved into the neighborhood that didn't look like the people that used to live there, people started to say, well, I got to get out of here. And that was a problem because when people move into neighborhoods, it shouldn't matter if they're black, they're white, they're Hispanic. It shouldn't matter where they come from. If they come into your neighborhood and they're trying to make a good life for themselves in a good neighborhood, then you should be okay with that.
Absolutely.
My father, though, predicted it. He said, what's going to happen is those that just immediately react to somebody who doesn't look like them moving onto their block will start selling their houses for less than what they're worth. And then the same people that those folks that just moved into your neighborhood are trying to run away from, they're going to follow. That's when you get somebody who walks in and buys something that they probably shouldn't have been able to afford, moves into a neighborhood, and then you get bad neighbors that move in there. It's the fear that causes the problem. If you start running, if you start saying, we're not going to arrest them, we're not going to stand up to them, we're just going to close down our carnivals, that's just the beginning of the end to me.
But that's mob mentality on both sides if you think of it that way. Because if a few kids start acting out, a few teenagers, a few grown, however you want to call them, start acting out in a carnival,
Young
you got
adults.
other people that maybe didn't want to think about that, see that, and get them away with it. They're going to start in, right? Mob mentality, begots more, violence or whatever you want to think like that. The same way goes the other way. Fear on that is going to make that other people fear, and then you're going to fear, and I'm going to fear. It's mob mentality almost in a different light. I don't know if that makes sense, but do you see what I'm saying there?
It was solid. It was a good point. What are you going to give? You going to give him what? I'll give him a 9.3. 9.3.
8.9.
8.9, huh? 8.9.
He didn't stutter at all.
No,
He got
he
it.
could.
How many
Yeah.
lives is it going to save when the bolts don't come out of the tilt-a-whirl and kill our children? I think they're safer without these carnivals.
I have a confession to make. It's true, and I'm guessing you have done the same thing. Put more time into thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for your retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree with you, and I want to help you out. I've got a local, experienced, down-to-earth guy who's a friend of this show. He's got a get-to-know-you approach and do the right thing values, and he's been around for over 20 years right here on the South Side. His name is Tom Walsh. He's located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, and he's waiting for your call. In times of financial uncertainty, how can you stay on track? Call someone who's invested in your success. Reach out to Tom now, 773-779-0023, or pop in at the office right on 111th and Kedzie. Tell him we sent you. Edward Jones, Making Sense of Investing, member SIPC. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, we have Kevin Barron. And I discovered Kevin in a way that always makes Bill nervous. Bill gets very nervous whenever I find people on the internet and bring them over to my home. He's got this really cool Instagram account called South Cook Explore, and he goes around and he finds like some of the coolest little hidden treasures on the South Side. And I started following everything he was doing, and I eventually reached out to him. I'm like, I've got to get you down here. I've got to hear your story. You're a teacher. You're an author that's got his first book coming out very soon. You're from Lamont. You teach out in the Chicago Heights area, and you explore the South Side. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for the beer. He comes from Lamont. He brings me Pollyanna beer. So I had Pollyanna on the episode, and you brought me Pollyanna beer. So they basically own this episode of Southside Pod, which is incredible.
Had to, make sure I represent after coming in a close second for the battle of the South Side you were doing. We were trying to stuff some votes over there for sure.
That was a close one. And so I think if we seed it better next year, it'll be better results for you, better results for some of the other suburbs that are out there. Overall, I think it'll be okay for everybody. How do you get into going around and finding all these neat little spots that people may have forgotten about or not realize are there on the South Side?
I've gotten that question before, and it's like a combination of things, I guess. I mean, I certainly grew up with both of my parents pointing things out from growing up in Bremen Township area, and oh, look at that, that's what that used to be, and I don't think that ever stopped because I still do it. I mean, I do the same thing that my parents are doing, and working in Chicago Heights, and I mean, we got Big Bloom. It's a beautiful campus. Tons of cool buildings on Chicago Road and Dixie Highway. I was just mesmerized being out there, and I started taking photos and sharing it with friends. And I don't know, it didn't take too long before I had the conversation with a few of them about, maybe you should start posting this kind of stuff online. Like, you know this stuff really well. Why not? And it certainly grew from there.
Is it something where you find a building or a location, you think it's cool, you take some pictures, and then you're like, now I want to research exactly what it is? Or now is it grown into you searching for things where you're like, I got to go find this?
So it started off that way, where I would go find specific landmarks in towns. And it drove me nuts that different municipalities had different amount of information online. Like maybe Tinley Park had really good information available about what buildings are landmarked and have a plaque out front. And some of them, like Chicago Heights, it was a little bit harder to track those down. I started making my own Google Maps that way to find them a little bit faster. and see what I can do on like my planned period, and get out and grab a few photos and map out a route. And once I discovered that, I started making my own maps to share with everyone else. And that really took off. I've been doing that for about a year now, and I think I had about 140,000 combined views on that now.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm just taking photos of things that I find interesting and do some research on them later and see what I can come up with.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And now with the book idea that you have, and you're not just doing Chicago Heights, obviously. Then you're everywhere. I mean, your account is South Cook Explore. You're all over. The city's still Cook. Do you ever go into the actual city, or do you stay basically suburban?
I've done the city a handful of times. I mean, there are better accounts and better individual or more accurate historians that know Chicago better than I do. So I kind of leave that to them. But I've done some posts in Hegewisch, done in what else, like South Deering and the Calumet region.
Hegewisch
in general.
looks like it might be an interesting neighborhood. I drove through there the other day. I was just basically trying to get around a problem on the Skyway. And I ended up taking 94 to 130th and then heading east into Hammond, Indiana, and went through Hegewisch. And it just seems like such, I mean, I'm driving through and I'm like, I really have never been out here. Like, this is like one of those places I really have not gone through. And you're saying that there's stuff out there to go find. Definitely.
I mean, it's new to me in a lot of these situations too. And I don't have a lot of experience hanging out in Hegewisch, but it's fun to find something new and, come back later and see what else I can find. Or maybe there's something interesting that caught my eye and now I got to go check it out and do something fun out there.
If you're out, you're looking for older buildings, historical things, oddities, things that kind of just like you go, wow, look at that. Where's the best place right now? Like, is there a town that you're just like, this is like caught in a time capsule, or they have stuff that people don't know about?
It seems like Lamont's foreign for a lot of my friends. So, plug in Lamont real quick here. I'm sure Jason's excited about that.
So you're out, you're putting this together. How does the book come about? When can we expect it? What's going to be in it?
So it's an Images of America book for Lamont. It was done for the 150th anniversary of our town. And I'm guessing it's going to be around our Kipita days, which is Labor Day weekend. That's going to be my guess at this point. Lots of cool photos that we went through in there. I mean, we dug through thousands of photos in the Historical Society, between workers building the sanitary and ship canal to old limestone buildings and churches. Tons of great content that we came across to make this book. So I'm excited to be able to share this with some people. It's going to be fun for people in Lamont to recognize some old sites in town, and hopefully it'll get some people interested in coming out to our town. I mean, we're kind of an island that's surrounded by forest preserves, and we don't really have a neighboring suburb next to us. So
the Instagram, it's South Cook Explorer, right? Is there
Correct.
an @ that I should be giving him, or is it just at South Cook Explorer?
South Cook Explorer.
All right, check it out, because he puts up pictures and stuff like that. It's kind of cool to follow. I would imagine when the book comes out, we'll get details on that account as to how to get the book that you're putting together.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll definitely be doing a book signing event in Lamont. I'm not sure where it's going to be at, but I know that we're going to be doing one somewhere.
I think it's neat that you bounce around and you do this. Does this take up all your time? You got to
It certainly has now. I mean, it went from being just the activity to go snap some photos while I'm out, and now it's like I got to plan my route, and if I'm going to leave the house, I got to think about where I'm going, and if I'm going to do that, I might as well grab some photos from this place.
Yeah, you were telling me when you were going to get here, and you're like, I'm going to get down there early to Evergreen, and I'm going to snap some photos. Did you find anything down here? What did you find?
So I parked a couple blocks away. I grabbed some photos of some houses, and there's some really cool brickwork over here. I mean, It's just beautiful looking, like maybe post-war, maybe some are a little earlier than that. But it's a unique characteristic of being in the area. I mean, we don't have that where I live. We don't have that where I grew up in Tinley or Oak Forest. And it's just another characteristic or a signature of that town.
A lot of old churches, too.
Yeah.
Like, tons of churches in Evergreen, that's for sure. And they're repurposing them all. Like, the village has bought like several of them, because like the churches went away. So now they're all like these different community centers and like senior centers, and where they have the kids go and do summer camps and stuff like that. They've grabbed a bunch of them around here because they don't want to lose them, right?
Sure,
so if they can keep them together, they're trying to keep them together, which is really interesting as well.
Yeah, those are buildings that were built by the community, and they're uniquely designed. And I mean, I know specifically the history of the churches in Lamont. Like, one of them was designed, the Irish church in town, St. Patrick's, was designed to match a church in Ireland. So, I mean, that's unique. You're not going to find that anywhere else. So I'm sure that the churches that are anywhere else are no different. I mean, they're different from the they look here in Blue Island versus Oak Lawn versus, like frame churches that you might find somewhere else, or brickwork that you might find I guess in this region. Yeah, they're all unique, and they're like a staple of the community. So why wouldn't they be important?
Check out South Cook Explorer on the Instagram, and check out what Kevin's doing there on that South Cook Explorer account, and look forward to the book. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
What was the rabbit's name in Bambi? It was Thumper. What's this called in radio speak? It's called a bumper. It's a bumper.
I'm sitting at Horse Thief Hollow with a couple of award winners right here, winners of an amazing award. Big deal for brewers, and I want to introduce you to Jake, and I want to introduce you to Morrison, the brewers behind Little Wing.
That's right.
Gold medal award winner, World Beer Cup. First of all, how did it feel when you heard your name get called?
He can speak for himself, but I was ecstatic. He called me and told me about it, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, so there's actually an awards ceremony. They do it on stage. We actually stayed back. It was a Craft Brewers Conference, but we're really busy over here, so we were just hanging out brewing, and we didn't even watch the live stream of the awards ceremony, so we found out via text. So it was awesome, but yeah, we had all of our brewer friends texting us, congratulations. So like that's how I found out, opening my phone. Congrats, gold, Little Wing. And yeah, it was just incredible. And
I had this explained to me that like it's months-long process because everybody submits a beer. Probably for your category, it has to be one of the busiest and hardest ones to win because you win International Pilsner. That you win the gold medal in the World Beer Cup. You've got to be going up against German breweries that have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then you find a way to, this brewery right here on the south side of Chicago, right here in Beverly, just outside Evergreen Park. I mean, this is the one that wins it over everybody in the world?
Yeah, so I believe it was 56 countries, and in our category, I believe it was 128 entries. And so...
129, so we
129.
bested 128 of them.
So yeah.
So this is, I would say, the staple, the big one. It's always at the top of the list here in Horse Thief. It's been available as long as I've been coming here, and I've been coming here since the place just opened up. You have lots of artwork that shows that there's been tons of conceptual art for it, and like how if when you canned it, like deciding like what you want to put on it. And I always got the feeling that it was really important, this beer, to your owner, and Neil liked this beer. And so he must have also been like, holy cow, look how far we've come. Now it's winning an award.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Neil and for me as, Neil's head brewer to be able to bring this accomplishment home, with Morrison's help. And it was huge for us, and it was so awesome because I know that for Neil, it's really a great achievement. And this is our flagship beer. This is our number one seller. Almost everyone who comes here drinks this beer. So like to have this happen to a beer such as Little Wing for us is just really incredible, and can't even say how awesome it is.
I would assume that if you were telling people, what beer they should try if they've never been to Horse Thief Hollow, you'd of course say Little Wing. It just won a big award. If there's another one up there that the two of you like, that's what I'm curious of. You're both brewers. You both must have a favorite. I know it's like picking amongst your children which one you love the most, but there's got to be one that you're like, this one I'm really proud of.
So right now, I'm a big fan of Boogie Chillin'. It's a grapefruit pale ale. It's great for the summer, great for the patio. It's not overly grapefruity. I was not a huge fan of grapefruit, and then I tasted this, and it was just, we couldn't have done a better job of like threading the needle with the flavor of grapefruit. Plus, it's summer, citrus, just a good time.
Yeah, I concur. But really,
look at you! You just went with what he had.
All right, so if I'm going to be truthful, I'm really like a yeast nerd and a fermentation nerd. So we've got our mixed culture saison front flips, and I'm tapping it as soon as we get done with this. The board will be up, but that's really complex and just super refreshing, and that beer showcases what yeast and bacteria and mixed culture fermentation can do. So me as a brewer, I nerd out on that kind of stuff. It's a little more esoteric, but if you're a beer nerd, try our mixed culture stuff when we have it. It takes a long time to make. We'll spend a year or more aging some of these mixed culture ones. So when they're on, come and try it.
There you go. There you go. You got one right there from one of the brewers here sitting with me. Something that's going up right now, which means it's going to be here if you stop off at Horse Thief Hollow.
Front flips if I didn't name it.
There you go. Okay. Right around 104th, I want to say 104th and Western. Is that
104.26.
104.26 Western. Little Wing is one of your 4 canned beers that people can get right now if you want to get it off the shelves, but nothing tastes better than the stuff off the tap in the actual brewery. And if you're nearby, this is a place to go and visit. Maybe you bump into one of these guys, sweaty, after they've done a long day of brewing.
Yeah, we'd love to share a pint with any of you guys. So.
Share a pint with anybody.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to continue to share our pint. Thank you so much, and thank you, and congratulations.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. This final tidbit is brought to you by sidsauce.net. The peppers are grown here in Evergreen Park. The hot sauce is developed here, and they are probably the best hot sauces you're ever going to find. A local mom and pop company delivering hot sauce to your door. We got about 4 or 5 different styles in the house right here. Check out everything they have to offer. The menu is constantly evolving, and the favorites stay up there all the time. sidsauce.net. John Streets left bourbon for you guys.
John Streets with a Z?
Yes.
With a Z.
And he...
The
with a
bourbon
Z.
The Krampus guy?
Yes. The guy, the artisan market.
Krampus?
The artisan market.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
No, he's not just Krampus.
No, he actually didn't dress as Krampus at that thing. He
So
just was telling us
disappointing.
about the festival back around Christmas, and you've locked in on it.
Yeah, he'll always be Krampus.
Right. So anyway, he brought us a bourbon sample that he left behind because you guys weren't here last time that he sat down at the bar. This is Millum and Greens. It's a cask. It actually, the cask number has been provided, 323.
Oh,
if that
that's
really
my
matters.
favorite
This is
cask.
323?
Yeah, 323.
If it was
Wow.
322, there was no effing way I was
No,
going to drink
throw
it.
that out.
And then it's 116.4 proof, aged for 4 years in Tennessee. So
58% alcohol.
Yeah.
Which 4 years? The last 4 years?
I believe it was the last 4 years, or at least a recent 4 years.
Okay.
is what I
Listen,
would believe
2020
it would
doesn't
be.
count. So.
Yeah.
We all
so.
aged like 5 years.
I opened a bottle of wine
Yeah.
from 2020 the other day.
Yeah.
And
And
then it got COVID.
no, hold on a second. No, listen. Erica sits down at the table and she's like, you want some table wine? I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm Italian. This is what we do. We
right.
drink it for
mean
breakfast.
water?
Yeah, this is what we do. And so I'm like,
Pass
it's
the
dinner.
gravy.
Yeah.
Right. It's dinner. Give me some red wine. So I'm sitting there and I pour the wine and I take a little sniff as I'm drinking it, and I pulled it away right away. I was like, this smells like turpentine. And then she's like, what? I'm like, there's something wrong with this bottle. I'm like, what is this label? I'm like, what kind of is it?
Turpentine.
So she goes, right away.
Trying to kill you. It's the Southside. It's the Southside. It's the Southside Pod. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to the Southside Pod. Y'all come back now, you hear?